I'm going to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. You've been asking the wrong question about happiness your entire life. We ask ourselves, shouldn't I be happy all the time? And when we're not, we think that something's broken, that we're failing somehow. But here's what I've learned after decades of studying this, after watching people achieve everything they ever wanted and still feel empty, after going through my own dark nights of the soul. A meaningful life doesn't feel happy every moment. It feels meaningful every moment. And those two things, they're completely different. So stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you will change how you think about happiness forever. And more importantly, I'll give you actual tools to feel better even when life isn't going your way. Here's the thing we all know intellectually, but we can't seem to accept it emotionally. Happiness doesn't come from outside of ourselves. We know this, but we're still completely conditioned to chase external things like success, security, approval from other people, the perfect relationship, the right body, the next achievement, the thing that will finally make us feel okay. And we tell ourselves, when I get that, then I'll be happy. Sometimes we get it, and for a brief moment, we're happy, genuinely happy. But then what happens? It fades. So the promotion becomes your new normal. The relationship starts to become challenging. The achievement, maybe it gets filed away and you're back where you started, looking for the next thing. So I've seen this play out in extreme ways. People who've achieved extraordinary success, and I'm talking about individuals who have everything that most people dream of multiplied by 100, and they're still searching. They're still unfulfilled. They're still waiting to feel the way they thought they would feel. Because here's the brutal truth. If you can't find contentment in the journey, you won't find it in the destination either. So the problem isn't that we want things. Wanting things is human. The problem is that we've outsourced our emotional state to circumstances we can't fully control. And when those circumstances don't cooperate, so when we hit a difficult time, that happiness seems to disappear completely. So if external things don't create lasting happiness, what does? It comes down to this: the state we're living from internally. I want you to think about it this way. Two people can be in the exact same circumstances. Same job, same city, same challenges. One's miserable. The other's genuinely okay, maybe even thriving. So what's the difference? It's not their circumstances. It's how they're managing their inner world. So when your inner world is unmanaged, even amazing circumstances don't help. You could win the lottery and still find something to worry about. You could be in a beautiful relationship and still feel anxious. But when your inner world is managed, even hard times can be lived with strength and dignity, and sometimes even a strange kind of beauty. Because here's what most people don't realize. Happiness isn't a personality trait. It's a habit. It's a habit most of us were never taught to value or to practice. We weren't taught how to manage our focus. We weren't taught how to shift our state. We weren't taught that our emotional baseline is something we actually have agency over. We were taught to achieve. We were taught to acquire. We were taught to impress, to keep up. And then we wonder why we're exhausted and unfulfilled. Now, I want to tell you something that's important. There's a good chance that you're going through something right now. Maybe you're in one of those, dark nights of the soul that I mentioned, or maybe you're just feeling a little bit stuck, or maybe you've achieved what you thought would make you happy and it didn't. Or maybe you're just tired of feeling like happiness is something that happens to you rather than something you can actually influence. And I've created something specific for this. It's called the Happiness Quiz. You can find it at moniquerhodes.com. The link is in the description. Takes about 3 minutes. And it will help you identify exactly where you are right now in terms of your happiness patterns. What's working, what's not, and most importantly, what specific habits or mindset shifts would make the difference for you specifically. Because here's the thing, happiness isn't one size fits all. The tools that work for someone else might not be what you need right now. And this quiz will give you a personalized snapshot of where you're actually at and what to focus on next. Okay, so let's talk about the different kinds of happiness, and understanding this changes everything. The first kind is what I call pleasure happiness. This is the I got what I wanted happiness. You get the promotion, you buy the thing, you have the experience. It feels amazing. And it's lovely, truly. I'm not here to take anything away from pleasure. But here's the question. How long does it last? You get what you want, you're so excited. How long are you excited? A year? 6 months? A few weeks? Often just a few hours. That new car smell fades. The thrill of the achievement becomes your baseline. The excitement settles. It's nice, but it's not sustainable. So the second kind is flow happiness. This is where you're fully absorbed in something meaningful and you completely disappear into it. So time stops. You're not thinking about yourself. You're not worried about the future. You're not replaying the past. You're just in it. So this could be working on a project you love, or playing with your kids, or creating something, or maybe solving a problem, maybe having a deep conversation. So this is a much richer form of happiness because it's not dependent on getting something. It's about being in something. And you can access this in any season of life. But then there's a third kind, and this is the one that really lasts. Purpose happiness. This is when you feel like you're living for something larger than yourself, when you're serving something beyond your own comfort or pleasure. It might be your family, it might be your work, your community, a cause, a creative vision, something you're building that matters. And when you have this kind of happiness, you're less vulnerable to circumstances. You're more resilient because even when things are hard, there's meaning underneath it. So think about it. When someone dies in a family, often one person doesn't collapse into the grief the way everyone else does. I see this over and over again in my work. Why? Because they're busy taking care of everyone else. So they find strength because they're here to serve something more than their own feelings in that moment. That's purpose at work. I need to be clear. It's absolutely vital that at some point that person does the work, right? And actually deals with their grief. But in that moment, that's often what we see someone do. And the truth is, relationship is where the deepest, longest lasting happiness comes from. It doesn't come from transactions or achievements. It comes from real connection with your partner, with your children, with your friends, with your family. So here's my challenge to you. Make sure you have access to all three types of happiness. Play with them. But especially make sure that purpose happiness gets expanded in your life. So if happiness is available to us as a habit, as a choice, why do so many of us struggle with it? What's actually getting in the way? So I think there are a few big things. The first is expectation. So this is huge. Most of our unhappiness comes from expecting people or circumstances to behave in certain ways so that we can be okay. So we expect our partner to love us the way we want to be loved, or we expect our kids to make certain choices, or we expect our co-workers to be competent, or we expect people to keep their word, to be fair, to treat us well. And when they don't, we're devastated or angry or resentful. But here's the hard truth. People are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to disappoint us. They're going to break promises. They're going to make mistakes, big ones sometimes. So I'm not saying this to be cynical. I'm saying it because it's reality. And peace comes when we stop arguing with reality and we start responding to it wisely. So that doesn't mean we accept bad behavior or we let people walk all over us. It means we stop basing our emotional stability on other people behaving the way that we want them to. Because as long as your happiness depends on your husband or your wife or your kids or your boss or anyone else doing things a certain way, you won't be happy. So let me say that again. All of your happiness is destroyed by your expectations. So some of you know your expectations. Many of you are completely unaware of them. You just think this is how life is supposed to be. And when it doesn't match, you get mad. But it's not life you're mad at. It's the conflict between life and your unexamined assumptions about how life should be. So one of the most liberating things you can do is this. Expect less from people. Not in a bitter way, but in a realistic, compassionate way. People are flawed. You're flawed. I'm flawed. Good people make dumb mistakes, including you, including me. When you accept that, genuinely accept it, you're so much freer. Now, the second thing that gets in the way is our negativity bias. So here's something you need to understand about your brain. It's not designed to make you happy. It's designed to make you survive. So your nervous system, which is wired over millions of years, is constantly scanning for threats, for danger, for anything that could cause you significant pain. It's trying to protect you. But in the modern world, this survival mechanism often works against us because we're not running from predators anymore. We're just living. But our brain is still treating every stressful email, every difficult conversation, every disappointment like it's a life or death situation. And here's the kicker. Negativity stacks much faster than positivity. You can have 9 good things happen in one day and 1 bad thing. What do you think about before you go to sleep? The bad thing. So most people are doing what I call a negativity flood. This happens almost every single day, and it doesn't matter how smart you are, how successful you are, or how much you know better. If you're not actively managing your focus, the negativity is going to win. So especially in the difficult times. There's more negativity in the air, and it becomes the standard. So you have to be intentional. You have to interrupt the pattern. So what do we do about all of this? How do we build the habit of happiness when everything seems designed to pull us away from it? One of the ways we do is we start with acceptance, not resignation, not giving up, but accepting what we genuinely cannot change. So when you stop fighting reality, you free up so much energy that you can use to actually respond, to adapt, to create. And from acceptance, then appreciation becomes possible. So when you stop arguing with what is, you can start noticing what's actually there, what's working, what you do have, the small things you've been overlooking. And from appreciation, gratitude emerges naturally, and from gratitude, sometimes even joy. Now, this is not about toxic positivity. It's not about pretending everything's fine when it's not. It's about learning to live from a steady inner state, one that isn't held hostage by circumstances or other people's behavior. So here's the most important thing I can tell you. What you focus on matters enormously. So you don't experience life. You experience the life you focus on. All you have to do is turn on the news and you can spiral into anxiety in about 3 minutes. Or you can choose to focus on something else, something more useful, something more true. So this isn't about ignoring problems. This isn't about letting problems be the only thing you see. All right? And then there's the meaning you give things. So 2 people experience the same event. One interprets it as a disaster, the other interprets it as a challenge, maybe even an opportunity. The same event, completely different emotional outcome. So you have more control here than you think. The practice is simple, but it's not easy. You have to learn to notice where your focus goes habitually. You have to learn to notice what meaning you're assigning to events. You have to interrupt the pattern when it's not serving you, and you have to redirect it to something more useful, more true, more empowering. This is the work that I teach. Because if you do this enough times, it becomes your new baseline. And when that happens, you don't just survive difficult times. You become a stabilizing presence for the people around you. So your state becomes contagious in the best way. You become the leader, not because you're perfect, but because you're grounded. And there's one more piece to this that I think is essential, especially in difficult times. And that's having something to believe in that's larger than yourself. I don't care what you call it, your unique understanding of God, the universe, a higher purpose, great spirit, a sense that life has meaning beyond what we see. Because without some kind of spiritual anchor, when times get really rough, and they will, you're going to struggle. All of the research shows that people with a spiritual anchor are much more resilient and much more able to reach states of happiness than people who don't have it. Because if you don't believe there's something more, or if you don't trust that there's some kind of intelligence or pattern or purpose guiding things, then every setback feels random. Every hardship feels meaningless. And that's a really hard way to live, right? I love reading about history. And here's what history teaches me over and over again. Things swing too far in one direction, and then they find their balance. So the pendulum always corrects. We're not going to be stuck here forever. Things will shift. They always do. But we have to make sure we enjoy this journey along the way. We have to find a way to live well even when things are tough. And that requires trust. Trust in something larger than your immediate circumstances. So here's what I want you to take from this. Happiness isn't something that happens to you. It's something you practice. It's not about feeling good every single moment. It's about living from a state that's steady, grounded, and meaningful, even when life isn't easy. It's about understanding the different types of happiness and making sure you're not only chasing pleasure. It's about letting go of expectations that are destroying your peace. And it's about managing your focus and the meaning that you give things. And it's about having something to believe in that's larger than yourself. So if you haven't already, go to moniquerhodes.com, take the happiness quiz. It'll give you clarity on exactly where you are and what you need to focus on next. And if this resonated with you, do me a favor, share it with someone who needs to hear it. All right? Because here's the truth. In a world that feels uncertain and intense, your ability to stay grounded, to find meaning, to choose your state, that might be one of the most important things any of us can offer. Not just for ourselves, but for the people we love. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. I hope this has been helpful. As always, be kind, take care, go gently in the world.